Hello my friends, I am Sarah from Grace in My Space, and welcome to my new home. Now if you missed my last video, then you may have missed the biggest news of my channel. We have moved, clearly. This is not my home that you're used to seeing. This is our new space, and I'm excited to show you around. But first, we have to style what we currently have. So today I'm going to do some quick decorating with you. I have an enormous amount of open shelving. Never had this before. In our previous home, I had like one open shelf and one cabinet that I could style. This house has a full wall of open shelving, which you can get a glimpse of behind me. And so we're going to do some shelf decorating today. Now I plan to do an entire video showing you around the new house, but what I would love to know from you is what kind of questions you have for me. This is a bit of a different feel on YouTube from my other platforms or even my email newsletter, where I'm used to being able to converse more with you guys and talk you through the process. So if you have any questions for me, drop them in the comments and I will get back to you, or I will convert it into answers in a new video, like frequently asked questions. Let's plow through it in a whole video so that you guys can get up to speed with what we're doing here at our house. Now we are still in the moving in process. There will be lots of renovations done on this home, but look at this amazing amount of open shelving that I have to work with. We're gonna decorate some of these spaces and talk through some of the problems of decorating open shelving. This is in the dining room. It's all really open concept right now, so it's kind of a challenge to define the spaces, but since this is in the dining space, I wanted to have a feel of dining room decor. So we have my ironstone collection on top. Then I just have some cute books, stone vessel, obviously live plants, always add into open shelving whenever you have the right lighting for them. And then I have a collection of my pottery, my favorite mortar and pestle, which you saw in my old kitchen a lot, and more pottery. So one of the challenges of open shelving can be that it just looks cluttered. And one of the ways to combat that challenge is to make a collection. So having all of my ironstone span the top row of this grounds the space a little bit. It brings your eye directly to that collection. And then from there, all the shelves under it are a little bit more spaced out, not as overly complicated as the top shelf, and it just allows a little bit of movement through the space. Another way to combat a space feeling cluttered is to add in larger single items. So you can say I have a single item here with this bowl that's low profile, not overly sized. And then I have a single item down here that's kind of a statement maker, a grounder. And adding in single pieces rather than a vignette or a collection like I have with the pottery in these three areas makes the space just have a little bit of breathing room. Now let's pop over to another open shelf that is much longer and wider, which can become its own problem in and of itself. Now this shelf is a good 4.5 feet wide. It's a very wide space, which can become a problem, just knowing how to organize things, where to put them. And so when you're looking at shelves like this, I have two tips for you. Number one, go low and high. In other words, vary the height of the pieces that you're including. You can do that a few different ways. Number one, you can add like just tall pieces. versus you can add smaller pieces that are more shallow or lower. This is another example of that there. And then these varied heights and these varied heights are all examples of that. Another way you can do it is by stacking. So you can see I have books here with a paper mache bowl on top of that. This is adding height by stacking. Take it away, you lose a little bit of the interest. Add it back in, you're varying the heights. It's proportional to what's around it, but it's just a little bit more layered and interesting. Now, my second tip for a shelving of this size is to take a picture or a video of the space and take a step back and look at the full image. The reason I say to use a picture is because a lot of times what a picture does on your camera is it centers the photo on the focal point of whatever you're taking the picture of. And what it did when I did that on this was it immediately showed me that I have this really cluttered group right here that my eye wasn't immediately seeing in real life. And so taking a picture of this space helps me to determine, okay, I need to actually space this section out a little bit, maybe move these out, give this a little bit of space right here, reconsider what I want to put here, if anything, or do I just want to let the space breathe and give it a little bit less cluttered of a feeling. And taking a picture and taking a step back also visually highlighted these things to me. This just feels empty. It feels like it was purposeless and that it was just tossed up there without rhyme or reason. So taking these pieces out kind of helps calm down the entire area and make the whole space look more cohesive. Oh, that's why I had that there. I was trying to cover up the outlet. I was kind of wondering why I had that right in the middle. I'll come up with another solution. Visually, this pottery looks better clustered on the side. We might just see the outlet, it's okay. All right, bonus tip number 3, as I sit here and look at this, make sure that if you're styling a wide shelf, that you're not having everything pushed to the edges. It can feel intuitive to lean things against the side. For instance, the books over here are kind of leaned into the side and the books over here are leaned into the side. But if it's more floating a little bit in the center of your shelves, let's pop this right over here, hold those books up, give it a little bit of floating space, then that helps kind of the directional challenge of these shelves so that not everything is pushed to one side. And now we have a little bit of diagonal movement through the shelf rather than everything being streamlined vertically. I'm still kind of finding where all of my decor is. A lot of it's still packed, so this might not feel finished when I'm done with this. But this spot right here needs a little something something. But there are some general tips and tricks for styling a space like this. Cabinet as an example of color schemes. Keeping color schemes cohesive, it's a bit of an alliteration there, is pretty important to help it feel not chaotic. So you can see the color schemes of this are creamy whites, tans or browns, and greens. And you can see that that is basically brought in through a variety of textures, a variety of materials. We have some that are actually textiles. We have some that's pottery and wood and even books and flowers. And so what I did actually was I used this tile to create my color scheme. I purchased this in Portugal as a memento of our trip because there is handmade tile literally every surface in Portugal. And as you can see, it has the green, it has the creamy white, it has the tans and the browns, but it also has a little touch of blue. And so I was able to pop that in there and make it my color scheme for the entire cabinet. So if you have a single piece like that that kind of creates its color scheme for you, fantastic. If not, just come up with your own cohesive color scheme of about 3 to 4 colors and implement that into your shelf styling. Now let's look at the last section. Now this built-in has some issues going on. It looks like a shelf is probably missing. There's some areas that have been cut away. I don't know why, we just moved in, but we're going with it. So I would like to probably hang this right here. I just don't have the proper hardware today to do that so I don't damage the painting. This is one of my favorite vintage oil paintings, so I can't wait to display it here. So just imagine that this is hanging here, taking up some of this floating space and making it not look like there's just a big hole where the shelf should be. Imagine that. Now, I would love to offer this as a design challenge to you guys. All we have right now is books on here that are cookbooks, reading books, design books. There are a smattering of topics that we unpacked and just threw up here to get them out of the way. What would you do with this space that has a bit of a challenge to it? So we have this tall space on top, a very short space here, which, by the way, you can move shelves, just saying. And then we have this huge gap here where I'm thinking they probably had their TV. You put some ideas in the comments, let's have a design challenge and see who can come up with the best solution. I hope you enjoyed kind of a first glimpse at our new home. We have so many plans, renovations, designs on the horizon for this space, but for now, we just want to make it lived in and feel like home, which means unpacking and decorating in spaces that might not be my ideal style, but will work in the interim. Now, just a tip, if you are not a subscriber to my Grace in My Space Grace Notes, make sure and hit that up in the description. It is a very simple bi-weekly email, gives you access to all of my insider perks, free recipes, free printables, free design guides, free tutorial guides, all of the things at Grace in My Space. That'll keep you up to date on all the renovations too. Thanks for watching. I hope that you are excited for all the things that are to come here at Grace in My Space.